Okay, dear friends, we are going across the topic early medieval history, early medieval age, and I have already briefed the important issues in early medieval age which we are supposed to cover. So previously we have done the topic, the political expansion, what was the condition of Pala Pratiharaj and Rashtrakutas' power, and how did tripartite conflict start for the position of Kannauj and some other important regions, and then what was the outcome of the tripartite conflict. Then who were Rajputs, what was the origin of Rajputs, how did they come into existence. Then we have further moved towards the fact what was the political structure of Rajputs and what was the nature of administration under Rajput estates. Firstly, the political expansion of Rajput estates starting from Hindu Shahi dynasty in northwest to Dahal Mandal in Gorakhpur in east, and Chandela estate and even Parmara estate in Malwa. So multiplicity of estates or multiple estate system became a common feature at that time. In what way feudal elements manifested in Rajput administration, but here the administration better be discussed from the perspective of the paradigm of feudalism and simultaneously the paradigm of integrative state system as well. Then we have observed society. What were the features of society of time and what was the specific view of Al-Biruni? And we have even given a hint to you about Al-Biruni's account. My friends, here I have to discuss one aspect, or rather you can see some question. Suppose if they will ask you the question, critically examine Al-Biruni's account, critically examine Al-Biruni's account for the study of society and culture. For the study of Al-Biruni account as the source of study of northern India. During early 11th century. So my students, in this question you will not find difficulty because 6 to 7 points I have mentioned about the descriptions given by Al-Biruni and what is the significance of his account as the source of study. 3 to 4 points I have mentioned earlier. So we will talk about the importance as well as the specific informations given by Al-Biruni. And just in the end point I have mentioned about 3 to 4 weaknesses or the 4 points of limitations. So you will simultaneously mention about the limitations as well. But after all you will give a positive end. Positive end means in spite of criticizing this account as the source of study, simultaneously you have to make this point clear. In spite of the limitations, but still we are almost depending over the account, Al-Biruni account, for the better understanding of society and culture of northern India during early 11th century. So in this way you will give a positive end. This is not a difficult, but suppose you can say slightly they can modify the question in the manner, verify the account of Al-Biruni. Verify the account of Al-Biruni. Al-Biruni as the source of study, as the source of study of history of northern India, history of northern India during early 11th century. Early 11th century. So this question would be slightly different, but you can manipulate the answer. What is question writing? I have told you earlier, question writing is some type of manipulation. So if you are having the clear-cut understanding of the topic, your language is having the proper expression, and you are slightly a manipulator, you can present a very appropriate answer. Now here you can say what is the keyword. Verify. Verify means satyapit kijiye, correct or wrong. Verify the account of Al-Biruni as the source of study of history of northern India during early 11th century. So suppose you will find such a question. So firstly, you have to give a start. How to start the question? Among foreign accounts, Al-Biruni's account appears to be unique in the sense that it was the product. It was a comprehensive account. It was a comprehensive account shaped up by Al-Biruni's shaped up by Al-Biruni's extra interest in India and its great heritage Actually, Al-Biruni is also characterized as the Indologist. This term has been reserved for the British scholars or the Western scholars who were taking a specific interest in Indian culture. You will find them, these scholars, in 18th century. So the term has been reserved for those scholars, but here also you will find the term Indologist. Al-Biruni's extra interest in India and its great Al-Biruni's extra interest in India and its extra interest in India and its great heritage, great cultural heritage, for the knowledge of Indian society and culture, during early 11th century, we almost depend over Al-Biruni's account. Al-Biruni account. This is the general. As for veracity of his statements, most of his observation can be verified through other sources. Verified, even in place of verify, you can use the term corroborate, even other sources. My students, you can hear better to even make the point. Al-Biruni has given a hint towards the proliferation of castes. He mentions about, my students, I am giving it the hint and you will fill it up, otherwise it will be too much time taking for us. In point first, you will mention, you will just draw the attention, you write here, he mentions about 4 varnas or 8 antej castes. You will just quote other sources as well. For example, there is another who has appeared before Al-Biruni. He's another, you can say, Arabian scholars, Ibn Khurdadav. Ibn Khurdadav has mentioned about 7 castes. And even if you are not recalling Ibn Khurdadab, leave it. And better to mention even Kalhan. He talks about 64 caste. I have mentioned it in your study material also and in PDF in studies class. And then you will give that. Even you can quote Brahmavarta Puran. Brahmavarta Purana, who has even mentioned about 100 castes. So it was a natural phenomenon of the time. That then you can say Al-Biruni has talked about fourfold Varna system. Fourfold Varna system and origination of four Varnas, ki Brahmins from the head, Kshatriyas from the shoulder. They will make this point clear ki fourfold, and even you can say right from the very beginning, the Indian sources have already, right from you can say Vedic period onwards, we are already informed about the fourfold Varna system. Then Al-Biruni has just mentioned about ashrama system. And Brahmanic source has always emphasized over the ashrama system. Okay, then Al-Biruni has given a hint towards the similar condition of Vaisyaj and Sudraj, and as we know, कि from Gupta period onwards, it became a common feature कि relative decline in the condition of Vaisyaj and relative improvement in the condition of Sudraj, as Yagwal has just mentioned Sudraj as the cultivators and even gave him the right to perform sacrifice, and the condition of Vaisyaj might have been linked to the trade and commerce or whatever may be. And then you will also mention about the fact that about the declining condition of human, he has given the hint that the dowry system was prevailing, and then the condition of widow was pathetic, and in royal family the sati system was you can say the sati system was prevailing or prevalent. So you will mention even all other contemporary sources have talked about the dowry system, sati system right from the time of Gupta period onwards. So you know these are the, so whatever statement he is giving, so that is. But after he has just talked about some, you can say, festivals and pilgrims and pilgrimage centers like Banaras, Kannauj, etc. And they have been the sanctified places in Indian history. So in this way we will verify. But simultaneously will be the change of, it is true that his certain informations appear to be too much unique to Indian condition. For example, Indians were not cutting the nails and the hair in their body. Then Indians were chewing betel and spitting. They are just riding on a horse without a unique type of information or whatever. You will mention 1 and 2 or 3, whatever you may recall, and then make this point clear. It is very natural perceiving his foreign origin because he was not well aware of Indian condition. But still, in spite of the limitations, likewise, he has not mentioned about Rajput. He has always talked about Kshatriya. But it is true, but in spite of the limitations, we can say that most of the information given by him can be corroborated by other sources as well. So his account is relatively and reliable source for the study of the first half of 11th century, or the, you can say, history of 11th century India. So in this way, he will make this point clear. Verify. So it is, you will take the ideas from there and manipulate the question. So my students, you have to go in this direction. Now, agrarian economy or agricultural economy, you can say. Now you have to, because in this topic I have told you that we have covered society first, and then after covering society, then you have to move towards which. So after covering society, then you have to move towards agricultural economy or whatever may be. So be clear, and then you have to move further. If you have to work on economy, keep this thing agriculture. Agriculture. Expansion. irrigation plantation crops, crafts and guilds. Then trade, money economy and urbanization. And you will cover such areas, you can solve the question. So far as this part is concerned, so this part is a bit debatable. You can go through this part, but particularly this part is a bit debatable. So here I am making clear. Firstly, let us see. Agricultural economy. Agricultural economy kept expanding on account of land grants, though it is true that mostly settled villages were given in land grants during this period, but even in these villages, here I am making clear. Here you can see expansion. You may ask me the question, you are always talking about the expansion of agriculture and you are attributing this credit to land grants. So some critics is just raising here the question mark. According to some critics, you should be aware of the fact that you are talking about the, you can say, expansion of agriculture through land grants. So during this period, earlier the grants were given, and in grants normally you can see there were the two types of land, cultivated and uncultivated. But during this period you will find that most of the land grants were already the grants of the settled villages. So if the settled villages were given in the form of land grants, then how could they lead towards the expansion of agriculture? Because the agrarian practices were already being done there. Here the reply is, it is true that during this period, most of the grants were the already settled villages. But it is equally true that even in settled villages, due to the migration of population elsewhere or due to the lack of efforts, the larger quantity of land in the settled village remained fallow or uncultivated. So if this village was given in the form of grant to some grantee, so grantee has tried at his best, and so far the question of Brahmins are concerned, you should know that they were having the knowledge of Arth Shastra, Shilp Shastra, and even the weather and seasons, and they were having the acumen and having the expertise in agrarian activities also. So they were having the knowledge of technological know-how. So whenever they were given, as the grants were given there or whatever, so grantees or from whatever category the grantees were coming. But grantees took a specific interest in expansion of agriculture. So it mobilized the labor in the nearby village and then cultivated or further developed the uncultivated land. So in spite of the fact that the settled villages were given in the form of land grants, but it is equally true, it led to the expansion of agriculture in a particular village. So it was beneficial in the form of expansion of agriculture. We cannot deny the fact. Second thing is irrigation. So far the question of irrigation technology is concerned, so it is from the post-Maurya period onwards we have realized one thing, that there was some technological upgradation in irrigation facilities. For example, you can say that earlier the people were simply drawing water from the well, but now the situation comes that a new technology for irrigation from post-Maurya period onwards, so that developed, that is called Arghatta. So what was that? So there was a rope garland you can say, a rope garland, and this rope garland was, you can say, in this rope garland attached a number of containers, and possibly the garland was hanging from the branch of a tree or some pillar or whatever, maybe the wooden pillar, etc. And then one person was just standing the opposite side, and second one this side, and first one that side, and one was just drawing this rope, another is pushing it. So every container was filled up through water, and then this container was finally, you can say, vacated outside. So there was some governments, and there the water was preserved, and then the water could have, through a channel, it was moving towards the agrarian field. So it led to the better irrigation of the land. But my students, here you should know, in 11th century, this rope garland, up to 11th century or 10th century onwards, this rope garland was replaced by iron chain. So further progress, iron chain. And later I will inform you, with the advent of Turks in India, a new technology in irrigation has to be developed, and that is called Persian wheel or sakia. So that will be the further development for irrigation from the wells. And how would they impact the agriculture of the time, I have to discuss with you whenever I will teach you the topic of Delhi Sultanate. So this is the irrigation. Now you can say this is the technological upgradation in irrigation. But there were certain groups, or you can say the certain entities, which gave support to irrigation. One was the kings themselves. Kings did a lot for the development of irrigation projects because that was just beneficial for them. For example, you can say they used to dig, the wells were dug. There was the development of reservoirs as well as ponds for irrigation works, and the king made a contribution to them. Furthermore, you can say you can cite the example in Kashmir. There was a king Lalitaditya. He is given the credit to have developed a canal. Lalitaditya is given the credit to have developed a canal or channel from a river whom? From a river Jhelum. Jhelum. King Lalitaditya. And just 1 century later, there was a prime minister in Kashmir, Suya. He was a great engineer. He has done a lot for the development of canal irrigation in Kashmir. Apart from the kings, it was the nobles or aristocrats, what you know as the feudal lords. They were also making contribution to agriculture. Making contribution to agriculture as well, and apart from that, irrigation exclusively. They used to develop wells. They used to dig wells, develop reservoirs, because they were the middlemen between the state and the peasants, and they used to appropriate a part of production or a part of agrarian surplus in their favor. So it was in their, you can say, greater interest to develop the irrigation facilities for peasants. So they were working. And you will just go to South India under Cholas, you will come to know in the remote south, it was village panchayat, what you know as Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha was playing a role in the development of irrigation. Whenever I will teach you Chola period and South India, I will make you this point clear. Then you know one of the aspects of the development in agriculture is what? That is plantation crops. That is plantation crops, you can say. Different types of crops, even, and this tendency has started from Gupta period onwards. During the Gupta period, you find that there was a text Amar Kosh in Amar Singh, by Amar Singh. He has talked about the varieties and different varieties of land, different types of land. Then you find Birhat Sanghita. Birhat Sanghita has even given the information for the grafting of the, you can say, plants. That is called Kalam Lagana. And then Krishi Nareshwar, you find the name of the text, and different types of texts were just giving information about the plantation crops. So even the growth in plantation crops was the one of the, you can say, features. My students, as the crafts, in crafts you can say there was the one type of crafts which were linked to the village under Yajmani system. I have told you Yajmani system. In fact, I have talked about Yajmani system or not. I have to make you clear. Actually, this is basically view given by initially R.S. Sharma. He believes R.S. Sharma means the Marxist historians. After the, or up to the end of the Gupta period, there was the decline of trade and commerce. So a large number of artisans were rendered unemployed. So in order to earn their livelihood, they migrated to the village area or the rural areas, and there the peasants, now they started to produce the products and you can say produce the items in favor of peasants and for the use of peasants, and in return the peasants used to provide them the proper quantity of grains. So there was the interdependence between the craftsmen, artisans and peasants. They were the rural artisans. They migrated from the different urban pockets towards the rural areas in search of livelihood, and they started to produce for peasants, and in return the peasants used to provide them the, you can say, grains for their subsistence. So there was the interdependence between the artisans and peasants, and there was the rise of self-sufficient village economy, or you can use the term self-sufficient village economy. So in this way, this phenomena has been highlighted by some scholars. So this was under Yajmani system. So in the rural areas, certain crafts were organized under Yajmani system. Then you can say even in urban areas, there were a large number of artisans, you can say, and the artisans were organized into guilds. My students, from post-Maurya period onwards, I have talked about guilds. Whenever you have to write on the ancient guilds, so here my students, I am giving you some clue. You will recall certain common things simply after giving some specific example associated with any specific age. You can say clearly mention about the certain features. Certain features we can say, for example, you will just give the information that the merchants were organized into corporations and artisans into guilds. In order to avoid the competition with each other, now the artisans were organized into the guilds. There was the head of the guild. It was called Jesthaka or Sreshthi. This was the name. And there were the formation of certain committees, 10 committees, 7 committees, which were just under these committees under president, and these committees under some president, you can say. Jestak or Sreshthi used to work for guilds and just make the rules. The guilds were having the greater role of the time at that time. In economic field, they used to verify the quality of the products. They used to fix the value of the products and the price of the products. They were also providing some security to the members or artisans. In social field, you can say they were having some regulation, and they were putting some regulation on the life of the different artisans. It is said that even some women had to join a Buddhist monastery. So she was not simply required to take permission from her husband, but also from her husband's guilds. The guilds used to maintain their own stamp, their own, you can say, seals, their own flags. The guilds used to formulate their own lodge for their, you can say, functioning, and these lodge were existing just side by side the royal lodge, you can say. So guilds were at that time having the greater role in the economy, you can say, greater role, and you can very well compare them with the corporate responsibility of today. अब today you know कि it is under compulsion कि the capitalist class is supposed to have maintained some corporate responsibilities, but at that time such guilds were automatically and at their sweet will they used to perform certain corporate responsibilities. They used to provide some fund to temples, to monasteries, even some educational institutions, you can say. They even develop some temples, giving security to the members, etc. You can say the different works were done by them. But one important thing, such guilds or you can say Gestek or Sreshthi didn't try to make intervention into the contemporary political matters. They didn't even try to play some role in coronation of the king. So that's why they never emerged to be a rival to the political leadership. So they were normally patronized by the state. They could not develop the animosity with the state. It was a plus point, you can say. So normally this point is up. Now my students, this point is quite disputed and I will place one question to you as well. My students, you know, so far is the economy is concerned, in economy, you know, कि trade, urbanization, and money economy. Now here you will find two diametrically opposed views. Two diametrically opposed views. Or you can say this is historiographical issue. So far the question of changes is concerned, you can just ignore it there. But it was basically a historiographical issue. Here the two group. When R.S. Sharma and associates what is the view here? Phase of decline of trade, money economy and urbanization. Money economy and urbanization. The phase of decline of trade, money economy and urbanization, R.S. Sharma has earmarked this period nearly 7th to 10th century. And once again he has talked about the revival after 10th century. Second one view, B.D. Chattopadhyaya B.D. Chattopadhyay and Ranveer Chakravarti. B.D. Chattopadhyay and Ranveer Chakravarti. B.D. Chattopadhyay and Ranveer Chakravarti. My students, here I have to make this point clear that these guys, these scholars have denied the concept of decline. Denied the concept of decline. Denied the concept of decline. And my students, this is an historiographical issue. Historiographical issue. There you will just underline here the historiographical issue. R.S. Sharma and his associates' phase of decline of trade, money, economy. Actually, firstly, I am making you familiar with. Once again, just go earlier. According to R.S. Sharma, the trade and commerce was flourishing, and it was in quite flourishing condition up to 3rd century CE, as the Roman Empire worked as a great consumer of Indian products. But due to barbaric German invasion, there was Roman Empire fell into a very economically dismal condition, and it could no more work as the consumers of Indian products. So up to 3rd century CE, there was the decline of certain port towns in India, and even in North India, the decline of urban centers just started. But thanks to resumption of trade relations with Byzantine Empire or Eastern Roman Empire, during the first half of Gupta period, the economic prosperity could have been maintained. But up to the second half of Gupta period, or up to the mid 6th century CE, means he has even earmarked the date 551 CE. So when the Roman merchants or merchants from Byzantine Empire very secretly stole away silkworm from China, and they started to produce their own silk, so they became self-reliant. So import of Chinese silk was just sharply reduced, and India lost its role of intermediaries. So there was the decline of external trade, and in the meantime, internal trade was disrupted due to the rise of elite class or the rise of feudal lords. So there was the feudalization of internal trade. So due to the decline of trade, money economy, there was the decline of urban centers as well. Once again, he believes that from 10th century onwards, with the foundation of a big Arabian empire in West Asia, Indian products got a new consumer outside. So the external trade was revived, and likewise in internal trade, the same feudal lords who were earlier working as the impediments in the internal trade, so they were now crystallized after reaping a vast agricultural income or agricultural surplus. They were enriched, widely enriched, and they started to work as the consumers of luxury goods. So internal trade was also revived, and from 10th century onwards, it talks about the revival of trade, revival of town, revival of money economy, and he prefers to characterize it as the third urbanization. But here B.D. Chattopadhyay and Ranveer Chakravarti have completely denied the concept of either the decline of trade or decline of towns and money economy. About the decline of towns, here B.D. Chattopadhyay, Ranveer Chakravarti, about the urban centers, he believes. Ranveer Chakravarti says, not simply, even during the 6th century BC, my friends, you may realize one thing. You find here the expansion of, just observe the origin of second urbanization in 6th century BC. You people are recalling. There was the expansion of agriculture in the middle Gangetic basin and the agrarian surplus, So here Basically, Ranveer Chakrabarty highlighted the point that as for the basis of urbanization, in place of external trade, it is agrarian surplus which has always played a greater role. Agrarian surplus has always played the greater role, and during this period there was the expansion of agriculture. And due to the expansion of agriculture and development of new technologies in irrigation and the growth in plantation crops, there was a vast agrarian surplus, and this definitely gave encouragement to trade and urbanization. So here it was the agrarian surplus which led and which paved the way for the rise of urban centers. So why are we talking about the decline of towns? Because trade has never remained to be the major catalyst behind the towns. Rather, it was agrarian surplus. He believes, Ranveer Chakrabarty. He has cited the example, B.D. Chattopadhyay, that Malwa, even at that time, R.S. Sharma is talking about the decline of towns. So, a large number of towns are visible. If some old towns were desolate or turned to be desolate, some new towns emerged. He has cited the example that if Huensang has talked about the desolate condition of Kapilvastu, the towns like Sravasti and Kapilvastu, it is equally true. The same Huensang has talked about the flourishing town of Kannauj and Banaras. So how can you believe in the theory of decline of towns? So the three factors. Agrarian surplus led to the rise of towns, and as this period is marked by the vast agrarian surplus and expansion of agriculture, so why decline of towns? Second one, Malwa and some new towns are verified by B.D. Chattopadhyay. And third one, even Huensang has talked about the certain towns in flourishing condition. So my students, and in this way we will just now, this view is prevailing now. B.D. Chattopadhyay, Ranveer Chakrabarty. The same thing is visible even in case of money economy. R.S. Sharma, whenever he has given the theory of decline of trade and decline of urban centers, so he has simultaneously given the theory of the decline of money economy as well. There was the decline of money economy at that time, and due to the decline of money economy, he had just cited the example that not simply there was simply a paucity of coins, but there was the absence of even the minting facilities. As even the minting facilities was not available and the mints are not visible, so it was definitely a major factor behind and it definitely led toward the decline of towns. And you can say scarcity of coins or paucity of coins. So whole theory of R.S. Sharma, the whole theory of feudalism of R.S. Sharma is based on the paucity of coins. B.D. Chattopadhyay has denied it, and Ranveer Chakrabarty also. Actually, B.D. Chattopadhyay has tried to prove that if some old coins vanished, some new coins are visible. And if archaeological evidence, as R.S. Sharma has cited, has just shown that there is the scarcity of coins, or not simply coins but also the mint which could produce the coins. So here we should, but contemporary literature has given a long list of coins. So B.D. Chattopadhyay even has gone up to this stage to deny the importance of literature and attribute all importance simply to archaeology is some sort of archaeological extremism, which is not tolerable. So in this way, he has just tried to keep his view. And G.S. Dale is a foreign scholar. He has cited the example that only the scarcity of, you can say, non-visibility of certain coins cannot be cited as the example of the paucity of coins, because we can find the evidence even in Europe that sometime the old coins are replaced by the new coins, and new coins are not recognized as the coins. For example, you can say, he believes that, suppose you can say, you are used up to, you are quite accustomed to observe the silver, copper and bronze and gold coins. But maybe this generation of people have just replaced these coins with the support of some stone coins or some other things which could have been used as the coins. So in your calculation, as they are not coins, you will declare that there is paucity of coins. But might be its coins have simply changed the form. Earlier the coins were having the one type of form, and now the coins is having the second one type of form. Okay. So GSDL has cited the example of Europe. Even in Europe, the coins have changed the form. Then second one example is that in southwestern Bengal, a number of coins are still visible. Even the Garhwala kings are using the coins. And third one, the cowries were used as coins. It also shows that trade and commerce was in flourishing condition, because the cowries means seashell. Seashell was being procured from Maldives and Sri Lanka. It is giving a hint towards the, you can say, seashell. So in this way, now this view has rejected the theory of the paucity of coins. Now my students, I am giving here the agrarian economy. You find here irrigation and construction of ponds, lakes and wells techniques, arghata became to be used. So my students, this point I have made you clear. And then kings used to build canals, Kashmiri ruler, Lalita Ditya, all things I have discussed with you, my students. Then craft and guild sreshti committees, how many committees were working. I have Jastha and Jasthaka, Jastha or Jasthaka. So this point is guilds often had their own codes. Kings was mostly so about the guilds. Then theory of decline of urban centers. R.S. Sharma has divided the process of urban decline in two stages. I have discussed this aspect with you. Then simultaneously R.S. Sharma from 10th century onward, the revival of trade. You have to go through it. Then contrarian view. On the other hand, historians like Biri Chattopadhyay and Ranveer Chakraborty rejected the theory of urban decline. New ideas. If some older cities declined, then some new ones emerged. According to Chattopadhyay, a large number of cities in North India up to Malwa are mentioned in literature. So if Wensan has talked about all the information I have discussed with you, will find here. Then here find your conclusion. Then should the early medieval period be treated as the period of decline in monetization? Should the early medieval period be treated as a period of decline in monetization? My students, I have just decided to deal with this question, but this question has already answered here. So I will just go through it. And what is the question? In 2009 in UPSC exam, there is a question. Question is, is the period of early medieval age early medieval age is named was the period of early medieval age marked by monetary anemia, Anemia means कुपोषण. Anemia means रक्त की कमी, the lack of blood in the body. Anemia is a disease, you know. In Hindi that is called रुग्ण. In Hindi they had placed the question कि क्या पूर्व मध्यकाल बौद्धिक रुग्णता से आक्रांत काल था? Was the early medieval age marked by marked by the phenomena of monetary anemia. So that is a very natural form of the question, So my students, here this is the type of question. As this question has already been answered, so I have to take this question here. When this question was asked, I have to inform you, UPSC 2009. This was the question, and the same question has been dealt with here. Should the early medieval period be treated as a period of decline in monetization? First view. R.S. Sharma and other historians link the decline of urbanization at the end of Gupta period with the decline of money economy. Okay. According to this view, not only coins began to disappear by the end of Gupta period. The mold for making, the mold means, here you can use the term also in place of mold, the mint. The mint for making coins also becomes rare. The situation remained same till the 10th century when, along with incipient trade revival, money economy also started to regenerate. Another view. Other scholars led by B.D. Chattopadhyay and Ranveer Chakrabarty have rejected the theory of decline in money economy. According to their view, if some old coins disappeared, some new coins appeared. They point to literary references to different types of coins. John S. Dale, I have talked about this John S. Dale, the European scholar, this one. John S. Dale had refused to accept early medieval India as a period of monetary debasement. Monetary debasement. Or here you find monetary anemia. You can use that term. In his view, shortage of traditional coins does not necessarily indicate a decline in economy, but as it can be observed from European experience also, it merely indicates that the people had started using some other things as media of exchange or medium, as medium of exchange. As medium of exchange. Okay. Third, discovery of large number of cowries from this period indicates that these were being used. They were being used as money. These cowries were imported from Maldives and Sri Lanka. This fact proves that long distance maritime trade was common. Without long distance trade, you cannot procure the things. And fourth, we get evidence of use of coins from southwestern Bengal. Coin hoard of Gaharwala rules has also been found. Okay. Conclusion, therefore, despite a reduction in the circulation of traditional currencies, it would not be fair to call it a period of monetary debasement or monetary anemia, you can see. Even you can use the term monetary anemia. Monetary anemia. So in this way we will deal with this question. Among my students, you have just come to the topic of culture. In culture, here I have to deal with first religion in North and South India, and then from religion in North and South India, it could have been better if I have taught you Cholas in South India and then in culture. So that could have been better, but I am doing it. I will just manage once again. I will just reformulate it so that you should not get confused. Even from cultural point, firstly I have to discuss about the religion, and after discussing about religion, my students, then I will stop there and I will move to Cholas. After doing Cholas, then you have to do literature and architecture, north to south, literature, architecture, sculpture, paintings, etc. So I will just do all the works after doing Cholas. So my students, about the religion, dominant form of religion, if you have to observe the dominant form of religion, so please keep in your mind Tantricism in North India and Bhaktism in South India. So you need to have conceptual clarity here. So that's why we have to start first here. Religion during early medieval period. So at the dominant phase, you will talk about Tantricism in North India. And this trend is not a new trend. Try to recall. This trend is visible right from the time of when? From Gupta period onwards, you know. Gupta period onwards, this is visible. But here I am talking about some common features first. And after dealing with some common features, then you have to deal with Tantricism in North India and Bhaktism in South India. And apart from that, you are familiar with Avira sect. You might have heard about Lingayata sect. So another name for Lingayata sect is Veera sect also. So firstly observe the features here. Various trends can be identified in the religious spheres. Point first, in Puranas we can see an ongoing synthesis between the high culture and low culture. What is the difference between Vedas and Puranas? Someone is going to ask you the question. You simply reply, in Vedas normally you will find the reflection of high culture. But in Puranas you can underline the assimilation between the high culture and low culture. And the low culture. Puranas also encouraged Bhaktism. Though various gods were worshipped during this period, Ganesh, Kumar, Kartikeya, Brahma, etc., but Shiva, Vishnu and Shakti cults undoubtedly had the most following. Point 2. During this period, religious syncretism was emphasized. The concept of Harihara, its most visible expression. Harihara is a fused representation of Shiva and Vishnu. Harihara idols were made from this period. Harihara means that now you will find assimilation between two gods. So it is giving a hint towards growing religious tolerance. Harihara. Hari means Vishnu and Har means Shiva. So you will find the common statue of Lord Vishnu and Shiva. This is the assimilation between the two gods. So this is giving a hint towards a religious tolerance. Tantric traditions became stronger in North India. It left visible impact on various religious sects, especially Shaivism and Shaktism. It is very common, you can say. Then subsects like Kapalikas and Kalamukhas developed within Shaivism. My students, you can see, you will just talk about the impact of Tantricism. I will discuss slightly. Here you will just come to realize that under Brahmanism, the growing cult of Mother Goddess. Then you will just come to realize under Shaivism, Kapalika and Kalamoks, they were the offshoot of Shaivism, and here they represented the very extremist type of sect or subsect, very extremist and some sort of religious extremism. They were living, the Kapalikas and Kalamukhas, they are living in, you can say, cremation place. They were just taking the human skull, and in the human skull they were just placing here some foods and they were taking the foods from there. So very extremist form of religion you will find. And likewise you will just observe here, under Vaishnavism there was the rise of a subsect, and that is subsect that is known as Sahajyana. Sahajyana is a subsect under Vaishnavism. And you know, this subsect, later it was called as Siddh in South India. And then, you know, then there was the rise of a new sect in Tantricism, Nath Panth. Nath Panth, you know, Matsendra Nath was the founder and Gorakhnath was the main saint, but Matsendra Nath was the founder. So you will just observe here the Nath Panth. And then the fifth one, here you can say, this was also the Vajrayana. Under Buddhism, Vajrayana sect, Buddhism became popular. Most importantly, Nath Panth emerged as an influential religious sect, and it challenged contemporary religious ethos as well as social structures. Point 4. This was also the time when in South India, Alwar and Nanar saints, I will just make you clear. Alwar and Nanar saints started the Bhakti movement around Vishnu and Shiva respectively. Later, Brahman Acharyas arrived on the scene. They gave a new direction to Bhakti movement. I will discuss this aspect in details, my students. In the beginning of 9th century, Shankaracharya reinvigorated the Vedantic thought. Later, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya and other Acharyas gave their own interpretations to the Vedantic thought. To the Vedantic thought of Shankar. They made suitable changes in it so as to make it a germane to Bhakti movement. A Bhakti and Nath Panth here I have to make clear. Dominant religious sects. Of here you can say North India. North India. In North India. Tantricism. You will here come to realize Tantricism. And in Tantricism, Buddhism, Vajrayana, then Brahmanism, you can say under Saivism, Kapalikas and Kalamukhas. These were the offshoots of Saivism itself. Kapalikas and Kalamukhas. Saivism, then Vaishnavism, under Vaishnavism, अब इधर Saivism once again Kapalikas and Kalamukhas. Kapalikas and Kalamukhas. Kapalikas and Kalamukhas, you know. Mukhas. Then Vaishnavism. Under Vaishnavism, that is next one, Sahajiyana. Then once again, Mother Goddess, that cult. Mother Goddess, that is the prevailing cult in Tantricism. And then one more is not under Brahmanism, a different cult. And this different cult better to deal with here, that is Nath Panth. They are the lower caste people, and there was a reaction against Brahmanism. So Nath Panth. Nath Pantha is the very important sect founded by Matsyendranath. Matsyendranath in 10th century, and then an important son Gorakhnath. Today you find Gorakhpur. My students, here you will just observe one thing. So you will just come to realize that Tantricism is having the significance, larger significance. Three significance here I am emphasizing. Emphasis over material happiness. Material happiness in place of nirvana. In place of salvation. Point number 2. Opposed to Varnasrama. Opposed to Varnasrama dharma. Varnasrama dharma. And third one, opposed to Brahmanic patriarchy. Opposed to Brahmanic patriarchy. My students, here I have mentioned about the three important aspects. One aspect is that significance, you can see, normally you will find in Tantricism, there was not the attempt for salvation. Normally you will find there the mantras were formulated for making someone free from the poison of a snake, the poison of some scorpio. So you know that the different insects are biting someone. So this is, the insects, even from the insects bite, there was some sort of mantras. If there is a snake bite, then there is the provision for mantras, and that will give you the relief. So in this way, right or wrong, but attempt for the material happiness. Second one, even in Nath Panth, you can say it emerged to be a social movement. Social movement in that sense, it opposed to the fourfold Varna system. It was a critique of, and I will just later discuss with you, that the social tradition of same Nath Panth has inspired Saint Kabir. Whenever I will discuss with you Kabir Das and Nirguna Bhakti, So Nirguna Bhakti would be inspired by the same Nathpanthi tradition. So this Nathpanthi tradition is quite important, you can say. And then opposed to Brahmanic patriarchy. Brahmins were just treating women as second-hand, you can say, members of society, or you can say they were provided in the secondary position in relation to male. But here you find under Tantricism, women were even given the position of a guru, a teacher, a spiritual guide. So in one sense, it was opposed to Brahmanic patriarchy as well. So you will keep in your mind the three important significance of Tantricism. It was a social movement as well, along with religious movement, and the same will happen to Bhaktism as well. Bhaktism is the important topic. Firstly, I will discuss about saints, Alvar and Nanar saints, then Acharyas who have given a new turn to Bhaktism. So that is a very important topic, and I will discuss this aspect, my students, in the next one after dealing with Bhaktism, and then we have to move towards then Chola philosophy of Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, and then we have to move towards Cholas in the next one class. So today just try to digest whatever information I have given to you. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.